Hey Lake Church, I'm Phil Wallach. I want to invite you to the Starting Point lunch this upcoming Sunday after the second service. At the lunch, we'll eat some delicious food. We'll hear from Pastor Eric about the vision of the church and where we're going as a body. And then we'll talk about your next steps and how you can get plugged in here at the lake. We would love for you to join us if it is your first time to the church or if it's your first time in a long time. We'd love for you to join us across in the loft at noon. We hope to see you then. Love you guys.
Howdy, group leaders. Happy Thursday. I hope y'all are having a great week. And I also hope you're somewhere dry and warm because, holy cow, it is just kind of miserable out there. I'm in here in the cry room. In fact, it's worth me saying, I don't know if you know that we have a cry room or not, but we do. Sunday morning, specifically during the second service, it's room 214/217. There's this space that we set up with the television that's got a broadcast of the service. And if you've got a fussy kid, you're more than welcome to bring them over here. You can still keep track of what's going on over in the worship center, but that's one of the things we offered. We're talking about Abraham, and so I thought I'd come hang out in the cry room. I was going to film this down in Lionheart, and there were actual kids crying down there, and that's not very conducive to a video. So here I am, much more silent baby, but you get the point. You heard me say this at Christmas time. I'll say it again. When God wants to change the world, he sends a baby. And that's exactly what he was doing in Genesis when he came to Abram and Sarai and said, I'm going to make you the father of many nations. And of course, you know, at least I suspect you know, that baby was one singular child that everything took off from, and God changed the world through that baby. Nonetheless, we got to start off with Abram and Sarai and no kids in Genesis chapter 12. And this whole start is just fascinating to me. In fact, I started this conversation with my students last night at midweek. First thing, let me say, please don't just read the dozen verses or so that they give you in the lesson to look at. They're stellar. If you want to focus on those just for the lesson, that's fine. But in your preparation time, let me encourage you, do the second half of chapter 11 and then read all the way through chapter 16. I know that's a lot of extra reading, but you're going to see the incredible story of not just Abraham's faith, and we make a big deal of Abraham's faith, and he displayed some incredible faith. Don't hear me knock Abraham. Certainly don't tell your Jewish friends. It sounds like I'm knocking Abraham because I'm not. But the more I read this story, the more I study this story, I'm coming to understand more and more. It's less about Abraham's faith and, man, God's patience and his goodness and his continual pursuit of us to activate his plan. And I should have known that already, but man, is it just more and more apparent to me in my life. I say read those chapters because you start to see, again, God's goodness and kindness. You see Abraham's faith peak, and then you see him struggle, and then you see it come back up, and then you see him struggle some more. But all the while, we're seeing him grow, right? And that's exactly where we are as humans, as adult believers, no less. And keep in mind, Abraham was in his mid-70s when this process started for him. He didn't know Yahweh, but God came and revealed himself to us, to him, and he started following. But we're no different. We struggle with our faith. We deal with awful scenarios. Right when, notice, and this is why I say finish the chapter, right when God says, hey, come follow me, go where I tell you to go, the first thing he gets hit with is a famine. Right? That's not what he expected. That's not what he signed up for. And then he deals with a new ruler who he's kind of scared of, and he makes some really poor decisions. This is the struggle. This is where we live and breathe every single day. And to be honest, we're in a world with a new leader that we're just not sure how that's going to go. We're still dealing with the global pandemic. In fact, it was a year ago today when the first recorded case of COVID hit the United States. Can you believe that? It's been a year now. We live in a world that slaps us around. And so our faith, specifically in God's promises, becomes all the more vital. We have to cling to those because the promises don't change. All the circumstances around us change, but God's promises do not. And so it becomes all the more important for us to cling to those promises, especially, I would say, the promise to the fact that God is with us. And he is. He's going to take care of us. So read those chapters. Emphasize that to your classes. Man, we've got to hang on to God's promises. Point out to them, too, I really do think this is significant. It's not that Abraham was looking for the glory and the worldwide fame. What caught his attention, and keep in mind, Abraham was a worshiper of idols at this particular point when God first shows up, which is fascinating to me. What caught Abraham's attention was the fact that God said, I can give you kids. Kids are so meaningful. Many of you know that because you're parents. I would just keep in mind as we're discussing this lesson, there are people in our church right now that would love to have kids and can't for whatever reason. So be thoughtful as you're having this discussion. Remind them certainly that God is the giver of children, and he does. It's a great time to talk about the beauty of our fam ministry and adoption as well. But I would just be thoughtful in this process. There's going to be some people that's going to be, that portion of the story is going to be what hits them, not the rest of this. But God is the giver of kids. Finally, guys, I would just, again, make a big deal out of God's graciousness and his patience. That's the story. And then keep rolling, because as we look at Abraham over the next several weeks, it's going to be good. We love y'all. We're praying for you. Again, stay warm, stay healthy. Keep us posted if there's something that we can be praying for you about. Check in with your Connect 4 leaders. Just stay attached to your groups. Guys, it's truly, that's so important. That's how we're going to get through this thing, with the help of Jesus and the aid of one another. So love y'all. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.